What's up guys, so this is Kipnik here. In my last video I showed you how to insert the edge pieces in the second layer to complete the second layer so that we can solve the Rubik's Cube. So now in this video I'll be teaching you the next step and the last step which you will learn to solve the Rubik's Cube so that we have a completed Rubik's Cube is the last layer. Okay, so congratulations guys for who have made it this far and are willing to learn the Rubik's Cube. Okay, so now let's get into it. So before starting we need to know that there are 4 cases you will get in the last layer. The pattern of the edges. Now there we'll break the last layer into 2 steps. Okay, and for the first step we'll have to see the pattern which the edges make with in contact with the last layer centerpiece, which is if they are facing upwards, if you keep the last layer on top and if they are facing upwards and the yellow color are facing upwards, so we'll look at the pattern. Now there are 4 patterns which you can get in the last layer with the yellow facing up. The first pattern is the dot. That means none of the yellow pieces is rotated in such a way that the yellow is connected with the yellow center. That means the yellow is down or on the other side and it is not oriented that the yellow is connected with the center. Okay, so that means the first case is dot. And remember that when you are looking at the edge piece cases, edge piece pattern, that at that time you will have to ignore the corner pieces pattern, because now we will not solve the corner piece. First we will solve the edge pieces and then we will solve the corner piece. Okay, so the first case is the dot. The second case is the reverse L, which goes like this, the reverse L, or to be more accurate you can say that the reverse L will be like this. In first there were 2 corner pieces, so ignoring the corner piece it will look like this, the reverse L on the top left corner. The third case is a bar, a straight bar, a horizontal straight bar. The fourth case and the final case is a cross, the last layer cross. Okay, so now don't get worried, I will teach you everything how to make the cross. And remember that the fourth case or the cross of the last layer is the final possible pattern which we will need, and is the only pattern which we will need to solve the Rubik's Cube. Okay, so I will teach you how to make it. In the first case which I told you that you will have a dot, you will not have any of the edge pieces oriented correctly. Okay, so in this case the simple algorithm is like this. It goes like this: F R U R prime U prime F prime. Okay, so now you can see that it has completed our first, we have gone through our first case. Okay, so now we have gone through our first case, and for the second case, as I told you, if you get the L or this pattern, you should always hold it in the top left. Okay, so it will be like this, the reverse L in the top left corner. Okay, so we'll do the same algorithm as we did in the first case: F R U R prime U prime F prime. Okay, so now we have gotten a bar, and for the same thing for this thing you will do the same thing as we did in the previous two, which is F R U R prime U prime F prime. Okay, so now we have the cross ignoring the corner pieces. Okay, in the last layer we have the cross. Okay, so this is the final case which we need to complete the last layer, and this is the desired case. Okay, now it may happen that after solving the second layer you may get a skip for the cross, you may get the skip to the bar, like you might get For example, like this case in which you are on the last stage of inserting your corner piece, and what you do is after inserting it you get a cross, okay, or you may get the dot and you have to start from the beginning, or you may get the reverse L or the bar, it doesn't matter, but you have to do the same algorithms but holding the patterns correctly. If it is a dot, it does not matter, you do it anywhere. If it is an L, it is necessary that you hold it in the top left corner. If it is a bar, then it is necessary that you hold it horizontally, and if it is the cross, that means you have done the edge pieces. Okay, so the first in solving the edge piece is that you will orient it in such a way that it makes a cross. Okay, now for the next step in solving the edge pieces is that you need to look out for solving the edge pieces as you have done it, that you have connected it with the yellow center. Now you have to complete the color sequence in it. Okay, so after making the cross, it is necessary that you get at least two or probably sometimes all four, but at least two colors in the correct spot. For example, first you will, at the first glance you will say that only one is at its correct place, but no. If you rotate the cube correctly again and again, you will see that except for these two pieces, there are these two pieces which are in the correct spot. That means these are correct in the correct spot except for these two. It might also happen that you may have the correct pieces in the opposite places. For here you have them side by side or adjacent to each other. In the other condition you may have it opposite to each other. So for example, in this case which I had got is that the red was in its correct position and the orange was in its correct position, and these both are opposite to each other. That means it is a case in which I got the opposite pieces correctly in place. So there is a simple algorithm by which you can solve it. If you have two oppositely correct pieces, then you have to hold it such that one is at the back and one is at your face or in the front. And if you have two adjacent to each other, that means you have to hold that such one is at the back and one is on your right. Okay, or if you are lefty, you can do it one at the back and one at the left, it does not matter, but you will have to do the set of moves, the mirror of what I will teach you now. Okay, so it goes like this: R U R prime U R U2 R prime. Okay, so now you will see that I have, instead of two opposite pieces being in the correct spot, now I have two adjacent pieces in the correct spot. Before doing the algorithm, it was like that two opposite pieces were in the correct spot, but now there are two adjacent pieces in the correct spot. That means I'll hold it like this, that one is at the back and one is on the right. Okay, I'll teach you if it is on the left as well, don't worry. Okay, so one is on the back and one is on the right. So the same set of moves: R U R prime U R U2 R prime. And you at first glance you will say that no, it is not in the correct place. So if you rotate the cube and if you match it, you will see that all the colors are now matched with the center pieces. That means the edge permutation is now complete. Okay, so if you are righty, then you can do it like this. Or for example, if you are a lefty or you are left-handed, that means you will hold one at the back and one at the left, and you will do the same things but the mirror of it, which goes like this: L prime U prime L U prime L prime U2 L. And again you will rotate the top layers such that they all meet with the centers, which is like this. Okay, so now all the edge pieces are oriented and permuted in their correct places. So now the edges are completed and all of the edges are in the place. And so the next step is the permutation or the placement of the corner pieces. Okay, so for the placement of the corner pieces, you will look for any corner piece in the last layer which either is in the correct spot and is correctly oriented, correctly placed. For example, like this for example, this is the corner piece which is currently in place and correctly oriented. That means all of the colors match with the corresponding layers. But and the second, you have to look for any piece. If you don't find this, then you have to look for any piece that is in the correct place, and it does not matter if it is correctly oriented or not. For example, this piece, it is in the correct place, that is, this piece is yellow, blue, orange, and the corresponding layers are yellow, blue and orange. It is in the correct place but not correctly oriented. That means the yellow is not facing the top. Okay, so you have to either grab one of these two pieces. If you get the first condition, then grab that piece, and if you get the second condition, grab that piece. Okay, now there are two cases which you may get. One is that if you get the first case, then you have the adjacent two corner pieces or the side by side corner pieces solved. Like for example, like this, that you have two side by side corner pieces which are solved if you have the yellow facing on top, and the two pieces unsolved, which I'll get to it later. But there's a case in which only one piece is in the correct place and correctly oriented and the rest are not. For example, like this, there is only one piece correctly oriented and correctly in place, and the rest are not. For example, like this piece, which you at first glance may say that the yellow is on top, but no, the color pattern or the color sequence does not match. That means I'll have to grab this piece. If there's any other piece which is, if you don't get this case, and if there's any other, and if you get the second case in which the piece is on the correct place but not correctly oriented, then also you may hold it like this, and the holding way is that in both the cases the piece should be on the right top corner, or if you are lefty, I'll show you the same thing. Okay, so the algorithm goes like this: u r u prime l prime u r prime u prime l. Okay, so once I have done it, I'll again look at it and I will try to look for the piece which is now correctly in place. Okay, so is this in place? No. Is this in place? Like yellow, orange and green, it does not match the color sequence. Is this after doing this algorithm, you will have to only see for the pieces which are now correctly oriented or the yellow is facing on top. Okay, so that means I will ignore these two pieces and again do the same algorithm, which goes like this: u r u prime l prime u r prime u prime l. Now this was our piece on which we will do the algorithm, and now there's another piece which is solved, which is next to it. Now you may get a case in which the two opposite pieces are correctly in place and correctly oriented, or the yellows are on top. For example, like this. But first you will have to understand that I am now teaching how to get at least two corner pieces that are facing yellow up and are in their correct place. Okay, so I showed you the example in which one piece was in which there was yellow on the top and the pieces were correctly in place, and for the right-handed. If you are left-handed, it does not matter. You have to do the algorithms the same way, but the mirror of it. For example, the same case I have gone to in which I was previously, is that one piece, the yellow is on the top and it is in the correct position, the rest are not. So you can see the color difference. So I'll hold it like this and do the same set of algorithms, but the lefty way. It goes like this: u prime, l prime, u, r, u prime, l, u, r prime. Okay, so again I'll look for the piece which is yellow on top and is in the correct place, which is not. So I'll do it again: u prime, l prime, u, r, u prime, l, u, r prime. So again I'll look for the piece which has yellow on top and is correctly oriented, which is over here. So that means I have now completed the first step in orienting the corner. Now for example, you are looking for any piece that has that is yellow on top and is in the correct place, and in this case there is no piece which has yellow on top. That means we'll go to the second case in which there is no yellow on top, but the piece is in the correct spot. For example, we'll take this piece, yellow, red and blue. Yellow is here but red and blue is not. That means this is not our piece. Then we'll go to the next piece, yellow, orange and green. Yellow is here, orange is here, but green is not here, it is blue. That means this is also not our desired piece. Again we'll go to the next piece, which is yellow, orange and blue. Yellow is here, blue is here, but not the orange. So the next or the last, which is yellow, green and red, and yellow, green and red. That means it does not match the color sequence, but it is in the correct place. So we'll do the same algorithm which I showed you earlier, which goes like this: u, r, u prime, l prime, u, r prime, u prime, l. So we'll look for any piece which is now yellow facing on top and is in the correct place, which is no. So we'll do it once more on this piece: u, r, u prime, l prime, u, r prime, u prime, l. So any piece now, yes, there are two pieces. That means we have again completed our case. Now there might be a case in which there is none of the corner pieces in the correct place. For example, like this one, in which yellow, green and red does not match yellow, blue and orange. Yellow, orange and green does not match yellow, blue and red. Yellow, blue and orange does not match yellow, red and green. And finally yellow, red and blue does not match yellow, green and orange. So in this case there is none of the conditions fulfilling our desire. So we'll grab any of the piece and do the same algorithms. For example, I will grab this piece or any other piece, does not matter, and I'll do the algorithm u, r, u prime, l prime, u, r prime, u prime, l. So now I'll look for any piece which is now yellow on top and it is in the correct position, which is no. So I'll do it again: u, l, u, r, u prime, l prime, u, r prime, u prime, l. So now is there any? And no. Now remember that after doing this algorithm 3 times, you will go to the first case from which we had started. I'll show you, which is u, r, u prime, l prime, u, r prime, u prime, l. So now we are again in the condition in which you have all the corner pieces not in the correct spot. So what we have to do is, you can do this algorithm and then shift to any other piece and do the algorithm there. For example, this is the piece I have chosen, in which now there is the condition fulfilling yellow, blue and orange, yellow, blue and orange. So this is again a piece, and then we'll do the algorithm over here. It goes like this, and now I look for any piece, not yet. So I'll do the algorithm once more, and is there any piece, and no again. Once more, and again we are in the starting spot. So again I'll do once on this, and then I'll shift to any other piece. I'll do the algorithm and move to another piece like over here. So I did the algorithm over here, and is there any, and again I think we are going through all the cases again and again. So sorry, and no again. So now we can shift to any other piece like over here and do the algorithm, and now look for it, and then again shift on any other piece. You have to keep going and going like this, so that you may get at least one piece which is in the correct position, which is over. So okay, so now you have to keep doing that over and over until you find a piece in which the corner piece is white, yellow on top, and it is correctly in the place. So you'll again hold that piece on the right top corner, and then again do the algorithm, and you should get a piece, a second piece which is yellow on top, and it is correctly in place like this. So as I told you earlier, you may have the two side by side pieces or the two opposite pieces correctly in place and yellow on top, which is fine. So or the opposite to, which is also fine. So the both cases are fine, and now you will not have to look out for these two. Now you have to just orient it or twist them in such a way that the yellows are on top, because now they are on the correct position, like yellow, orange and blue. Yellow, blue and orange, it is on the correct position, and the last piece is also on the correct position, as we may know. So the algorithm for twisting the piece, of course you cannot do it like this, it is illegal. So what is the algorithm which will twist it? The algorithm goes like this. No, before we do the algorithm, keep in mind that you have to always hold the corner piece in the top right corner if you are righty, or if you are lefty, I'll show you a bit later. Okay, so in the top right, and do this algorithm r prime d prime r d. Now don't worry about the last layer, it will, or the first layer, it will get completed by itself. Don't worry about it. Now again keep on doing r prime d prime r d, r prime d prime r d, r prime d prime r d. Okay, so now you can see that the yellow is now on top and the piece is now completed. So don't worry about the first layer, it will get completed by itself, don't worry. Now in the last piece is not currently twisted, so remember not to hold the piece like this. Don't change the cube, don't do anything, like don't leave the face which you had started the algorithm on. So for that you will have, what you will have to do to twist this, you will have to bring this over here on which we are doing the algorithm, which is like this. Okay, so now what I'll do is I'll do the algorithm again, r prime d prime r d, r prime d prime r d. So now it is also on the correct place and it is correctly twisted. Now I've seen that I did a move, which is why the color sequence is now not matched. So what I'll do is I'll match the color sequence and I'll find that my cube is now solved. Now as I told you earlier that you may get the pieces which are opposite to each other. So what you can do is you can you will do the same thing, but it's your will that you will either hold the piece on this one or this one. It does not matter, you hold any of them, you do the algorithm until the yellow comes on top, and then you change the piece with the unsolved piece. Like in the last time we did one turn, but this time after applying the algorithm over here such that the yellow comes on top, we'll do a U2 so that the piece comes over here. Okay, so now I'll show you the lefty version with this case, and the lefty version works in both as well as the righty version. So it goes like this: L D L prime D prime, L D L prime D prime, L D L prime D prime, L D L prime D prime. Now the yellow is on top, so what I'll do is I'll do a U2 move and then do on this piece L D L prime D prime, L D L prime D prime. So now it is solved, and now I have to complete the the last layer, the color sequence, which is like this, and now the cube is solved again. Okay, so now you have to remember that you have to execute the algorithm correctly, like R, if you are righty, R prime D prime R D. If you forget the last D, it may ruin all the cube and you have to start all over again. So do keep that in mind, and I hope that you understand everything correctly. I'll try to make it more easier for you if you comment down, and I'll write the algorithms in the description. If you still have hard in understanding my videos, if you still feel difficult in executing the algorithms, or you can't understand something, do leave it down in the comments. I'll try to identify your problem, I'll try to solve your problem, I'll try to help you everything. And if you like my videos, if you like my effort, then do drop down a like, subscribe to my channel for the videos about the Rubik's Cube, and do support my channel. Thank you.